if they have a seat down here in the front, we'd like to honor them. Any veterans, come on down. Before we get started, I'd like to make a few incidental remarks and a few housekeeping matters. I did put my dog tags on with my P-38 on, as I do every Memorial Day, just to remind me of my service during the Vietnam era. And I want to say a special thanks to a few of the people that are here and make this possible. I'm sorry that we had to come down here to the Wauseon High School during such a beautiful day. This is the first time that we did get a formal request from the cemetery board requesting that we have the service down here rather than out there. Scott Sturts does such a wonderful job of keeping the grounds up there, and with all the continual rain that we've had, the low area between the road, inside road, and the highway was had made that area a bog and a swamp. He had not been able to get his mowers out the way he wanted to, and he made, and the cemetery board itself made a formal request that we hold this ceremony here today. So that's why you are here today on such a beautiful day. And again, I want to thank the high school for their willingness to step in and make this beautiful facility available to us. Also like to make a few other recognitions. Joe Kolb is not here with us today. This is probably the first Memorial Day program that he's missed. He always followed the parade and handed out flags. He was just a stalwart, and he's home doing a little, he just wasn't feeling up to it today, so he's at home right now. Marie Hale, she always was part of the program with her gaily decorated bicycle. This will be the first time that she is missed. I want to thank the Honor Guard who is here today, and I'd like to read their names. The commander is Jerry Light, who is Army. Also, the vice commander of that unit is Jerry Miller, who's Air Force. Terry Estel is Navy. Jerry Kingsbury is Army. Rich Volkman is Army. Ken Smith is Army. Terry Eisenhower is Air Force. Fred Freed is Army. Rick Campos is a Marine. And Carl Clark is the Air Force. Let's give them a hold. I also want to thank the Boy Scouts who have been every year a little more actively involved in the program. Troop 8 has been kind enough to hand out the programs, and in the past they did hand out flags, but the assistance of the Boy Scouts has been greatly appreciated. And I'm going to make a few remarks about the wonderful work that the band has been doing and the choral group has been doing, and Don Clark. Yes. I guess you're going to be directing, and James Wan, who's the director of the choir. Bill Purcell is the commander of the American Legion Post. He cannot be here today, so his duties are being handled by our first vice commander, Carl Clark. Carl's father was one of the deceased members of the post who's going to be honored here today. And I want to thank Carl for standing in. At this point, then we will start with our program with the posting of colors, drum roll by Luke Moses. Allegiance will be by Veteran of Foreign Affairs, Ken Smith. Present.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ready? Two. Forward. March. Face. Forward. March. The invocation at this time will be given by Pastor Mike Byrne of the United Methodist Church, my home church. Pastor.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come here today to remember, pay tribute to the men and women of the armed forces who have died in defense of our nation in the time of the revolution, even to this day. They paid the ultimate price for freedoms that we hold so dear. We ask you, O Lord, to receive them in the arms of your everlasting embrace and grant them eternal peace that passes all understanding. We also pray for their families who have suffered great pain. Ease their hurt, surround them with care. We offer this prayer knowing that you will ease them and that you shall be with us. We know too that your desire that there shall be no more war upon this earth. We ask, Lord, that you would hear this, that there would be no more barriers of hatred between people. Hear this prayer, Lord, even as we lift up their memory and honor you this day. Amen.
You may be seated. welcome by First Vice Commander Carl Clark. And he's going to come down into the front row there and introduce veterans. So, Vice Commander Clark.
On behalf of the American Legion Post 265 here in Wauseon, thank you for helping us honor those who paid the ultimate sacrifice in defense of our great nation. While Decoration Day, now Memorial Day, has been a day of remembrance for over 150 years, I'd like to take a moment to give thanks. Thank you first to all you in attendance. Thank you to the family members of those who have and are serving. To those of you who have lost a loved one in service to our country, I cannot possibly thank you enough. Thank you to our brothers and sisters currently serving to keep us all safe. Finally, to those who have fallen, thank you. You are not only soldiers, Marines, airmen, and sailors, you are mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, you are sons and daughters. You are now the heroes that made this land, that made this the land of the free and the home of the brave. You live in our memories, and we thank you. To those still with us, please consider supporting or joining your local American Legion or VFW post. We exist to support our veterans, your veterans helping veterans. And as a reminder, at 3 o'clock today, we do have our National Moment of Silence. Which is thank you.
This time, we're going to honor those veterans who are seated here down front. Senator Clark is going to take the microphone, and he's going to ask you, if you'd be willing, to please stand up and just be recognized, give us your branch, and when you serve. Clark? Paul, you want to tell us a little bit about your service?
I'm a Vietnam veteran, and I did tours in Thailand, surrounding areas.
Erica Dutcher. I served in the Army National Guard from 1992 to 2005 as a field medical specialist.
Ken Bragg, Vietnam Navy. I'd also like to add that in 1944, the ship that I was on was hit by a kamikaze. There was 13 killed and 29 wounded.
Jay Sharp, Marine Corps, 2000-2004.
Larry Reed, Marine Corps, from 91 to 94.
Gene Gillen, Ohio Air National Guard, from 64 to 70.
Al Shepner, I was in the Army in Vietnam, 1965, 67. But I'd also like to pay honor to my father, who was in World War I, and to my mom's brothers, Ed, John, and Walter, that all served in World War II. Thank you.
Lieutenant Colonel Mike Freestone, United States Air Force, 1989-2009. I was deployed in Saudi Arabia and Qatar in 2003.
Downhill. Caribbean.
Bob Sheldon, Vietnam, 68, 69, 70, Marine Corps.
Jimmy Sandifer, 89 to 92, United States Marine Corps.
I've already given these gentlemen a flags. So
Jack Tibbetts, 1952 to 1954, U.S. Army.
Jeff Root, 1985 to 2000, Ohio International Guard in the U.S. Air Force.
Anyone else? I've already given her an applause, please, gentlemen, but I want you to give one more stand. This time, the Wauseon Chorale, under the direction of James Braun, is giving us music. We are graced to have our Wauseon homecoming queen with us this morning. And she's going to be making introductions for the two students who have been selected to give the Gettysburg Address and the Flanders Address. Monica?
Each year, Wauseon High School and Wauseon Region Post 265 select two outstanding seniors to recite two of the most meaningful expressions of the heartfelt gratitude of a nation. For its fallen heroes and the full sacrifices they made in defense of that nation and our liberty, this year, Alize Kubika will recite In Flanders Field, and Greg Moore will recite the Gettysburg Address.
I am Alize Kublika, and I am reciting In Flanders Fields by John McCrae. This was written during World War I. In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the larks, still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago, we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset flow, loved, and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep though poppies grow in Flanders fields.
My name is Gregory Moore, and I will be reciting the Gettysburg Address. 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation, or any nation, so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, and we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who have struggled here, have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here. But it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead, we have increased devotion to that cause for which they gave us the last full measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that a government for the of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from this earth.
This time we are going to memorialize those members of the post, 265 Wauseon Post, and the VFW who have answered the final call this last year. And we're going to be assisted by First Vice Carl Clark, whose own father will be part of the calling of names. I'm going to be listing the names of those who have gone on to answer that final call. I am not going to list their branch of service because at this point that doesn't matter. Harold Bernath, September 8th. Gialton Boyers, March 27th of this year. Larry Boyers, March 27th this year. Frederick Clark, September 8th last year. Norman Malvitz, July 16 last year. Lauren Onweller, December 21 last year. Elmer Oyer, December 20 last year. George Strayer, December 21 last year. Gerald Tanner, March 27 this year. Kenneth Tyga, September 24 last year. Laura Vollmer, October 23 last year. Robert Wise, January 15 this year. Norbert Roars, just the last one. Lowell Roth, just a couple days ago. May these gentlemen rest in peace. This time it's my honor to introduce our speaker for today. I had an opportunity to meet Father Rowan at the Veterans of the Year Award last year, and it was such an impression on me. I asked him if he would be willing to speak today, and he graciously said that he would do so. Father Patrick Rowan is originally from Toledo, Ohio. He graduated from Anthony Wayne High School in 1975. He graduated and received his diploma from the Moody Bible Institute of Chicago in 1984. He graduated and received his Bachelor of Science from the University of Toledo in 1988. Subsequently, he graduated and received both a Master's and an MA and a Master of Divinity from St. Meinrad School of Theology in 1996. He was ordained a priest for the Roman Catholic Diocese of Toledo that same year. He has served as Sergeant in the United States Air Force from 1975 to 1980. Served as First Lieutenant in the Ohio Army National Guard from 1984 to 1994. Served in the United States Army as chaplain, holding the rank of captain from 2003 to 2007. Father Rowan served in both the Strategic Air Command with the NATO forces during the Cold War, Ohio Army National Guard prior to and during the Gulf War era, and among other assignments was both the Air Traffic Services Command Chaplain and Garrison Catholic Pastor at Fort Rucker, Alabama. He served in the Republic of Korea simultaneously as both maintenance Italian chaplain and a Catholic pastor of Areas 3 of the 8th U.S. Army. Father Rowan is a recipient of the Meritorious Service Medal, Army Commendation Medal, Army Achievement Medal, Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, National Defense Service Medal, Korean Defense Service Medal, Air Force Outstanding Unit Award, Air Force Longevity Service Ribbon, Overseas Ribbon, Air Force Security Police Qualification Badge, Air Force Small Arms Expert Ribbon, United States Air Force Good Conduct Medal. Additionally, he is a graduate of the United States Air Force Security Police Academy, Army ROTC, United States Chaplain Center and School. Father Rowan is a past state chaplain with the Catholic War Veterans, He's a life member of the American Legion, life member of the Veterans of Foreign Wars, life member of the Disabled American Veterans, life member of the Atomic Veterans Association, life member of the Korean War Veterans, life member of the Atomic National Rifle Association, and he is a fourth degree Knight of Columbus. That's just some of the this that he has on his chest there. Well, we thank you, Father. Come on up.
Thank you, Judge Barber, and to all the guests here, fine people of the greater Wauseon community. Just wanted to begin by saying you have a beautiful school here. It's a privilege to be here. Two of my nieces and one nephew graduated from here, and we have a nice campus and a wonderful facility. Thank you to all who have been here today. And I'd like to begin by saying that I can first off, when it came to my mind when Judge Barber asked me to have this great honor, to say that there are many more people vastly more qualified to be speaking up here than I. But with that said, I want to thank our veterans. And I want to remember those who died, including my own father, who was a staff sergeant during the Korean War. Dad climbed Pikes Peak in January in order to teach bomber crews how to survive if they were shot down. And I learned a lot from my father, and I learned a lot when I was a Boy Scout as well, to get ready to become a military person. I graduated from Anthony Wayne High School on June the 1st, 1975, and at 17 years of age, I went in the very next day. Imagine leaving Northwest Ohio at the age of 17, the day after you graduate, and realizing you're never going to see, and I'll say this to the seniors here, some of these people again, they will move on. You will see many, but some you won't. And then I met TI, as they call them, training instructor Lee, who met us at the bus at Lackland Air Force Base in Texas and said, "Welcome to the United States Air Force, the fastest 6 weeks of your life." Well, he was right, they were fast, okay, but it wasn't exactly what I expected, and I'm sure all of our veterans will remember that basic training is very important because it's a short time to take one from being a civilian to a person ready to die for one's country, whether that be in the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Coast Guard, or the Merchant Marine. We think on Memorial Day of those who died fighting for this country. We think of those who are deployed. And when I went into the military in 1975, we must remember at that time there was no internet. Social media did not play nearly the role that it does today. There were no cell phones. It was a totally different world. Yes, there were McDonald's at the time. Just to put you at ease there a little bit. In fact, all I could think about in basic training was going and getting that quarter pounder of cheese as soon as we got out. After I graduated from basic training, I went to the United States Air Force Security Police Academy, where I learned to be the equivalent of what the Army would call military police. And I was put in security forces and was assigned to the 379th Bombardment Wing, Wordsmith Air Force Base, Michigan in Oscoda, the day the Edmund Fitzgerald sunk. I remember that storm. Now imagine, to our young people here, being 18 years old, I turned 18 while in basic training, walking around two B-52s with an M16 on my back, when the wind was blowing at 20 miles an hour and snow was coming down and German Shepherd guard dogs were barking. And we had guard towers and barbed wire and ballpark lights while we had these planes ready to go at a moment's notice with enough firepower, weapons of mass destruction to annihilate a good part of the Soviet Union, and the tankers on alert, and another 15 of each on the other side of the base. That base is now closed. You can't understand at that time what Cold War veterans went through, many of us, because we lived in a state where the great enemy at that time was the Soviet Union. And anytime the klaxon horn went off, you didn't know whether it was the end, because the planes would take off. If they took off, that meant we were approaching. Fortunately, I never saw them take off. Went through a lot of drills. We were treated well, but the morale was poor. I remember at that time, two high-ranking officers in particular who were some of the best I ever served under. Colonel Hank Boardman and Colonel William Pleaser, both of whom won the Distinguished Flying Cross. They were leaders, and the senior NCOs and sergeants were leaders, but we were coming out of a time of Vietnam when there was a lot of unhappiness, and our veterans from that time had suffered and didn't get the recognition they often deserved, and still to this day many suffer. Finally, I was moved to Arkansas at another bomber base and then sent to Italy with NATO forces. And while I was in Italy working with the Italian Air Force at a munitions site near the Alps Mountains, Pope Paul VI died. Pope John Paul I came in and died. And then Pope John Paul II came in. And then he died many years later when I was in Korea. But with NATO standing there with F-4 Phantoms and Hawk Army missile batteries, the potential of going to war at any time, serving very hard duty, constantly training and drilling for war. That was the Cold War. I'm a member of the Atomic Veterans Association because of the work around nuclear weapons. I pray and I ask all of us who are people of faith, all of us in general, God spare us from ever having to use those weapons. After I got out of the Air Force in 1980, I went on to the Moody Bible Institute of Chicago and graduated. And I decided to go into the Army National Guard because I still had some tuition benefits. So when I did, I went down to an infantry unit in Chicago, and the commander said to me, "Specialist Rowan, you want to be an infantryman?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "Like blank, you're not going to be." He says, "You have a college diploma, and you know how to type. Therefore, you are the company clerk." Okay? So I did Radar's job at MASH. But I tell you, when I was a priest in Korea many years later, it wasn't like Father Mulcahy on MASH. I guarantee you that. I'll get to that. I went through ROTC. I was a simultaneous member in the 148th Infantry. I eventually became executive officer of Company B. I had the privilege of having my first sergeant as a boss over me, and then later on, after my commission, I was his superior. But I always tried to work with my sergeants and never had any problems, generally speaking. Because if you treat people with respect and decency and love, you have to like one another, but respect, you get things done. We practice the 1/3, 2/3 rule. 2/3 of our time training and maintenance, 1/3 of the time actually fighting or doing what we needed to do in training. I got out in 1994 after going to Army Chaplain School because I graduated from the University of Toledo with a Bachelor of Science in Human Services and decided to go on to seminary. And so while I was in seminary, I went to Army Chaplain School. The Army trains its chaplains, Protestant, Catholic, Jewish, Muslim, whatever denomination, 1 or 2 times a year. The only difference being they don't carry a rifle. But we still had to call under machine gun fire. And being a prior service officer, what happened was they wanted to know who they were, and there were very few of us. While the rest of the guys and women who were going through that training to be chaplains got to go to Atlantic City, because we were at Fort Dix and Fort Monmouth, I had to stay back at Fort Monmouth doing paperwork. Okay? So that was part of the job that I did because they utilized me in prior service. Now I want to move ahead because I graduated from seminary in 1996. And in the year 2003, I received a call one night. It was a cold, bitter night, and it was a woman from Army Space Command, formerly tied in with Air Defense Artillery. And she says, "Father Rowan?" And I said, "Yes." She said, "My name is Lieutenant Colonel Mary so-and-so with Army Space Command." I said, "How may I help you, ma'am?" She says, "I'm under orders from the 3-star general to get a chaplain." I said, "Well, how did my name come up?" She said, well, we understand you're an officer, and we understand that you had already been through chaplain school. Yes. She said, I didn't know what to do, so she said she called her own mother, who happened to be from Fremont, Ohio, and says, I know exactly the person to put you in touch with, okay? And my mother's here today. She's heard this story before, okay? There are a lot of other stories, too. But in any case, it hasn't been boring, I'll tell you that. What I want to get across to you, in spite of all these sacrifices of all these veterans, these guys up here, these women up here who have served, and the families of those who continue to serve, is the value of commitment, and as General Douglas MacArthur said, duty, honor, and country. And as John F. Kennedy one time said, it's not what your country can do for you, it's what you can do for your country. It's what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, it is always the right time to do that which is right. And as an officer, I made it my best priority to take care of the soldiers under me, but to do so fairly and with firmness. The greatest challenge that I faced, and I will have you think about this for a moment, was suicide. There has to be a better way. You know, it's really something to have to walk in and tell a parent that his or her son took his or her life. And the first time it happened to me, I didn't know the soldier was suicidal. He came back from Afghanistan. And he left a note to me, one of 6, that said, Dear Padre, you were the only person who loved me and understood me. He happened to be a young gay soldier. He fought with great distinction in Afghanistan and was highly decorated, but he didn't know how to ask for help. And so I had to bury him. I had another soldier who killed his 3-year-old stepson, and I was tasked with his pastoral care while he awaited his general court-martial. What I learned in these things, this is what I will share with you. Human beings in many ways are not created to go through the things that we experience today. And one of them I would warn the future soldiers, but all of us out here, all of the future military personnel and all of our veterans, is to stay away from the drug epidemic, because that'll kill you. I work with the Wood County Sheriff's Department, now office rather, as one of their chaplains and deputies. And my military experience helped me. But the suicide problem was something. You see, the military evolved. There was no internet then. There was no social media like we have. The enemy that we face today is totally different. It was a totally different scenario. And we pray that we never have to go to war like this again. But the sacrifice of these veterans, what they've done to get us to where we are today, what they had to go through. Imagine in the infantry going without a bath for 3 weeks at a time, at least. In the cold, being on a ship, being on a submarine, being in the Coast Guard taking care of buoys and landing gear, being on an aircraft carrier, being in a missile silo, having and being willing to give your life at any moment, and sacrificing and taking care of the person around you. I would challenge each person here today, especially our students as you move on, to remember the sacrifice of these veterans and those who paid the ultimate price and died, that had it not been for them, we wouldn't be here today. There are people who do not like this country, and we must stand firm on its values. Wauseon is a great city. Northwest Ohio is great. You know, summer will be over before we know it. Ohio State will be practicing football, and so will the Michigan team, if there's any of those fans here. It's okay. All right, you're entitled to your own team. I learned that a long time ago, right, Casper? We don't argue about politics or football. Right? That's right. So enjoy your Memorial Day, but remember, Memorial Day is about those who suffered and paid the ultimate price, peacetime or war. Right now, there's people far away. You've got one, a loved one. How many here, show me a raise of hands, who have someone they know who's in the military now? Send them a letter, send them an email, a card. You know, that means so much to hear from the folks back home. And thank a veteran for his or her service. I want to thank you all for being here. I want to say to all of you, I hope that you have the best Memorial Day you've ever had. To the seniors who graduated and those who will be graduating next year, God bless you and congratulations. Thank you, Judge, for this wonderful opportunity to be here today. And to all of you here, may the Lord bless you. Thank you very much, and I salute you.
Thank you, Father. Words to live by. This time we're going to have the Armed Forces Salute by the Wauseon Marching Band. Mariah Patterson is the new field commander. I'll turn it over here to Jazz. As you hear your particular branch song, or if you are a member of that, if you're a veteran or a member of that particular branch, or if you have a family member who is a member of that branch, I ask you to feel free to rise and salute while they play your particular branch's song. Okay? time we're going to have the laying of the wreaths by the auxiliaries of the Veterans of Foreign Wars, the Legion, and also DAV. I don't believe Doc Ross is here, but we have Kathy Etchie, who is president of the auxiliaries for the American Legion post, and we have Ruth Ann Cast for the Veterans of Foreign Wars. At this time, they will be making a presentation of the wreaths. This time, then, I'm not going to be making any more directions. We're going to have the benediction by Pastor Byrne. Then we're going to have the rifle volley and the tax that are being presented by Caitlin Shadbolt and Lance Rue, who are members of the Wauseon band. After that, we will retire. I want to remind everyone that the Legion Post is having a chicken dinner out at the Post. It's being presented by the Sons of the Legion. So if you want to not cook this afternoon, help the Sons of the Legion out. Just stop out there at the Post and they have a chicken dinner for you. At this time, we will then proceed with the Three Valley Rifle Salute by the Fulton County Honor Guard and TAPS.
God, we thank you so much for this time that we've had today to give our time to pay tribute and honor. Now I ask that as you leave here today, remember the sacrifice, cherish the lives and the memories. Never forget the freedoms or take them for granted, and share the peace and the love of Jesus Christ with all that you meet. Amen.
You are dismissed.